Your FBI and DEA arrest El Mencho's daughter in New York, Quantain. Dirty cops, tons of drugs.
The feds just did what nobody thought was possible, because tell me why Jessica Johanna Osegara Gonzalez, El Mencho's own daughter, is sitting in a U.S. prison right now, serving over 2 years behind bars. The same princess who grew up in mansions and designed everything is now wearing an orange jumpsuit. And it's all because of one stupid mistake she made that brought the entire U.S. government crashing down on her. And here's the crazy part. This wasn't some Hollywood movie bust where they kicked down doors and caught her with drugs or weapons. Nah, Jessica got caught doing something way more low-key that literally anyone watching this video could have done. But she did it so recklessly that she basically handed the DEA a gift-wrapped case against one of the world's most wanted drug lords. Like, girl, your daddy is literally hiding from every government on the planet, and you're out here moving sloppy. But here's what's even wilder. Jessica's arrest exposed a whole network of businesses that El Mencho was using to clean his drug money, and some of these spots were hiding in plain sight in Mexico and the US. Plus, we're going to talk about how her own brother is facing similar charges and why their fancy lawyer couldn't save them from the consequences. And wait till you hear what El Mencho allegedly did when he found out his daughter got arrested, because that man does not play around. Mencho Oseguera Cervantes, better known as El Mencho, is literally considered one of the most dangerous drug traffickers on the entire planet right now. We're talking about the leader of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, which is responsible for pumping massive amounts of fentanyl, meth, and cocaine into the United States. The US government is so desperate to catch this man that they're offering a $10 million reward for information leading to his arrest. That's the same bounty they had on El Chapo, so you know this dude is serious business. El Mencho built his cartel empire from the ground up, and unlike some drug lords who keep a low profile, the CJNG is known for being extremely violent and aggressive. They've taken over territories from rival cartels, corrupted government officials, and basically turned parts of Mexico into war zones. But here's the thing about El Mencho. He's a ghost. Like, nobody knows where this man is hiding, and he's been avoiding capture for years while running a multi-billion-dollar criminal organization. Now, when you're that level of wanted, you'd think you'd teach your kids to move in complete silence, right? Like, rule number 1 should be, don't do anything that brings attention to the family. But Jessica apparently missed that memo, because while her father was hiding from every law enforcement agency on Earth, she was out here conducting financial transactions that lit up red flags at the Treasury Department like a Christmas tree. The feds weren't just watching her, they were building an entire case, document by document, transaction by transaction, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. So here's exactly what Jessica did that got her locked up. Between 2015 and 2016, this woman was conducting business deals with companies that the US government had already designated as fronts for cartel money laundering. We're talking about businesses that were publicly listed on the Treasury Department's sanctions list, meaning anyone in the world could Google these companies and see they were connected to the CJNG. But Jessica, she went ahead and did business with them anyway, signing contracts, moving money, and leaving a paper trail that federal investigators followed like breadcrumbs. The specific charge that took her down was violating the Foreign Narcotics Kingpin Designation Act. Basically, this law makes it illegal for U.S. citizens or anyone under U.S. jurisdiction to do business with people or companies that have been designated as drug trafficking organizations. And Jessica violated this law not once, not twice, but multiple times. She was literally conducting financial transactions with companies that the U.S. government had already flagged as criminal enterprises connected to her father's cartel. In February 2020, Jessica was arrested in Guadalajara, Mexico, and then extradited to the United States to face charges. She eventually pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 2.5 years in federal prison, plus 5 years of supervised release. But here's the kicker. Prosecutors said she could have faced up to 30 years if she hadn't cooperated and pleaded guilty. That's how serious this violation was. But wait, because it gets even messier. Jessica wasn't the only one in the family catching charges. Her brother, Ruben Osegara Gonzalez, also known as El Menchito, was also arrested and extradited to the US on similar charges. And unlike his sister, Ruben is facing way more serious allegations, because prosecutors claim he wasn't just helping with the finances. He was actively involved in running cartel operations and was being groomed to eventually take over the CJNG from his father. So while Jessica got 2.5 years, Ruben is looking at potentially spending decades behind bars if convicted on all charges. And here's where it gets wild. Some reports say that when El Mencho found out his kids were arrested, he went absolutely ballistic and allegedly ordered attacks on law enforcement in retaliation. There were reports of cartel members burning vehicles, blocking roads, and shooting at police in Jalisco right around the time of these arrests. Now, we can't confirm if El Mencho personally ordered these attacks, but the timing was suspicious as hell. Now let's talk about how Jessica was living before she got arrested, because this is where you really see how disconnected from reality she was. This woman was posting on social media like she was just another influencer living her best life. We're talking luxury vacations, designer clothes, expensive restaurants, and private jets. Her Instagram was basically a highlight reel of wealth and privilege, and she wasn't even trying to hide it. But here's what makes it even crazier. While she was posting all this luxury content, the businesses she was connected to were already under investigation. The U.S. Treasury Department had sanctioned multiple companies tied to the CJNG, including businesses involved in real estate, restaurants, and retail stores. These weren't secret operations hidden in some remote jungle. They were legitimate-looking businesses operating in cities, paying taxes, and serving customers, all while secretly laundering drug money. One of the businesses Jessica was connected to was a tequila company. El Mencho's family was allegedly using a tequila brand to clean their drug money. And this wasn't some sketchy operation. They were trying to build a legitimate brand that could be sold in stores. But the U.S. government caught on and sanctioned the company, making it illegal for anyone to do business with them. Here's something most people don't know. Jessica's arrest wasn't just about punishing her for violating sanctions. The feds were using her case to gather intelligence on her father's entire operation. When she was in custody, investigators were able to learn more about how the CJNG moves money, which companies they use as fronts, and which family members are involved in different parts of the business. There's also evidence that suggests Jessica tried to use her family's legal team to negotiate a better deal with prosecutors. She hired some of the most expensive lawyers in Mexico and the U.S., and there were reports that her family was willing to pay millions to keep her out of prison. But the U.S. government wasn't interested in deals. They wanted to send a message that even if you're a cartel princess with unlimited resources, you're not above the law. Another crazy detail, during her court hearings, security was insanely tight. The feds were worried that the CJNG might try to intimidate witnesses, threaten court officials, or even attempt a rescue operation. There were armed marshals everywhere, and some court proceedings were conducted under heavy security protocols. That's how seriously they took the threat from El Mencho's organization. Remember how we said El Mencho allegedly reacted violently to his children's arrests? Well, here's what we know. In the months following Jessica's extradition to the U.S., there was a noticeable spike in cartel violence in Jalisco state. Federal police convoys were ambushed, government buildings were attacked, and there were multiple reports of cartel members trying to intimidate officials involved in the extradition process. While there's no direct evidence linking these attacks to El Mencho's personal orders, intelligence reports suggested that the CJNG leadership was sending a message: touch our family and we'll make your life hell. But here's the thing. Despite all that violence and intimidation, Jessica still ended up in a U.S. prison, and her brother is still facing trial. So at the end of the day, all that retaliation didn't change anything except add more charges and more heat on the organization. So what's next for Jessica and the Osegara family? Well, Jessica is currently serving her sentence in a federal prison, and when she gets out, she'll be under supervised release for 5 years. Basically, she'll have to report to probation officers, can't leave the country, and has to avoid any contact with known criminals, which is going to be interesting considering her entire family is connected to the cartel world. So what do y'all think about Jessica's situation? Was she just trying to help her family, or was she being reckless and entitled? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if you found this story crazy, you need to check out our video on El Chapo's sons and how they're running the Sinaloa cartel now.